Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing great. Belated happy Thanksgiving to those who are celebrating. And those who are new to this channel of EDI and Cloud, please hit the like button and do share and subscribe. And also, like, hit the bell icon for getting notified whenever I am uploading some new tutorials on different topics around B2B, cloud, and today, we are going to actually take a very nice detour and talk about using generative AI in EDI mappings. I know a lot of the developers, even like I think almost all the developers right now that are working in some kind of EDI projects, they have to go through the mapping requirements specifications. They have to validate the input file. They have to validate, like, look into the output file, like the target format, how it would look like, do the create the mappings, right, manually, and then testing it and making sure the generated output of the EDI map is exactly matching to the expected output file, which probably is attached to the mapping requirement specifications or has been provided separately, to ensure that the map is unit tested and then the map is actually delivered for further integration and end-to-end testing. Now, with that backdrop in the mind, uh, I am not sure how many of you that are working in EDI world have heard or have started at least exploring generative AI. I know all of you probably are familiar or have utilized in some way or other Chat GPT or maybe Microsoft Copilot, Bing API, right? So generative AI is a subset of artificial intelligence slash machine learning language where uh, generative AI, what it does is that based on the machine learning model, the large language model, it actually generates new content, right, based on what it has learned, what that large language model has learned. So it's not about doing only prediction, it's not only doing about regression or classification, but also generating new content. That is why the hype of Chat GPT came into picture, and there are other large language models like Anthropic Claude, Meta's Llama, right? And there are Amazon's machine learning large language models, right? So there's a ton of like machine learning models that are out there in the market. Some are very popular, and every day we are seeing new advancement in generative AI. Now, why suddenly I started talking about generative AI? You might be thinking about it, right? I suddenly came across this very interesting blog post or a notification from AWS Cloud where I remember last reInvent, which is the biggest annual conference of AWS, which happens in Las Vegas in the month of November slash December, just right after the Thanksgiving week, where last reInvent, like in 2023 reInvent, they launched this product called AWS B2B Data Interchange, which was an extension and a service which comes on top of AWS Transfer Family, which was their primary MFT as a service on AWS Cloud. Now, this B2B Data Interchange, what it started, like why it was launched, is basically taking that next step beyond just the managed file transfer of transferring one file from one location to another location. Whereas, what if, just like Sterling Integrator does, can we add some kind of mapping functionality, right, within the product itself, whereas it's not about as is file transfer, like, but rather, let's say you receive an inbound or an outbound EDI document and you have to translate it into like modern languages like JSON or XML. How about creating a service, right, on the cloud which will help you to do that, and you don't have. So that's kind of the storyline right behind launching that AWS B2B data intelligence. We're almost at the verge of like an year of that launch, and this product has really added very interesting new features. And of late, the interesting feature that I wanted to cover quickly in this session is about the generative AI assisted EDI mappings. What if instead of doing all that heavy lifting of creating manually ground up those mundane task of creating the EDI mapping from the source element to the target element, um, if the product or the service right is providing you at least the baseline EDI mappings using generative AI, where you basically input the source file format, and then you also say that this is the sample output format that I'm expecting from this conversion, and can you help me create the baseline EDI mapping? And then maybe after the mapping is created automatically by the service itself, I as an EDI developer will go and look into that EDI mapping and be able to then just maybe make some very minor modifications or customization or changes, and I can deliver that map instead of like 3 to 4 days. Maybe in few hours I should be able to deliver quickly an EDI map. In that respect, how about the developer productivity that gets so much expedited, right? The employee productivity. So generative AI, right? The one of the biggest use case of generative AI is to improve the developer productivity, right? Now, having said that, let me share my screen quickly and talk about this interesting topic. So this is the notification that came out about a few, like I think couple of weeks back, where they talk about this B2B data interchange, which can help you uh, like generate the EDI mapping code using generative AI. Now, how to do that? Like right now, if you see over here, it's only available in couple of regions like US East North Virginia and US West Oregon. And so with that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly show you, like, this is the documentation, right? This is a documentation of the generative AI assisted EDI mapping, where you literally reduce the time, effort, and cost which is associated with my like migrating either your EDI workloads to AWS. Let's say you are like moving from one product to like cloud native B2B solutions, right? Like AWS B2B data interchange, or maybe you're just creating fresh maps and you are able to deliver that map within few hours instead of few days, right? With using the traditional products which doesn't support generative AI as of today. Now, with that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a quick demo of what I'm speaking about, and I really found interesting. I thought that this might be a kind of a conversation starter, a different mental model that you can uh, really investigate further, right, and see how you can integrate or like bring this topic to the projects that you're working, right, to the leadership, and see if this is something that they might be interested in. So I have logged into my AWS console, right, and then I can search like AWS B2B. If you search, you can find the B2B data interchange, right, which is a separate service other than the transfer family, which was the first MFT service. Now, before I go and build a EDI based workflow at cloud using the B2B data interchange, the primary requirement is that, as I mentioned, that you need to have the input file format, and you need to have the sample output file format, which typically you always receive even you do if you do the traditional EDI mapping, right? So what I've done is, like, as a prep work, I have gone to S3 console, and within S3 console I've created a bucket specifically for this testing or the demo. I've created like test EDI branches, and within that a bucket, I've created a couple of subfolders. One is like the EDI inbound, and the other is a JSON outbound. So what my scenario or my direction is that the requirement is that you're going to receive a inbound EDI 214 document, for example, 214 EDI format, right? And the requirement is that you have received also a JSON file, right? That you need to convert that EDI file to, right? So, having said that, what I've done is I went into the EDI inbound, and then if you see over here, the 214 EDI document is what I have uploaded over here, right? If you look into this, let me show you the file. Like I've already created. So okay, so let me show you the file how it looks like. So this is my file, and I'm gonna open it in my notepad. So this is my inbound EDI 214 document, right? If you see the ST, this is a 214 inbound. It can be any document, right? 850s, 810s, right? I'm just giving an example, 214. So this is an EDI document that comes inbound from your partner, right? And the requirement is to translate that file into a JSON file, which looks like something this. JSON file is typically a name value pair, right? So this is how the JSON file should look like. Now, within this EDI inbound, I've uploaded the sample EDI document, and then I have created another folder JSON outbound, which is the destination file format or the target file format. I have uploaded the 214 JSON file format. That's all. Now I go to B2B data interchange, and over here you can create like trading partner profiles, partnerships, and all that. I'm not going to do that today, but what I'm going to focus is on the transformers. This is the translation engine, right? That's running. Now I have to create a transformer, which is basically the conversion logic, right? Now what I'm going to do is, if I click on create transformer, and let's say Gen AI mapping testing, right? And then I have to tell this specifically what is the direction of the EDI file format. Is it an inbound EDI where you are translating an external EDI documents into common data formats? Right now, the common data formats other than the EDI is what it supposes is JSON and XML, right? Or it's an outbound file format, right? So for me, as I mentioned, I'm going to consider it's an inbound EDI 214 documents. I've selected inbound EDI document. Now, what's the actual version, right? As you know, there are different versions like 5010, 4010, 4030. So if you look into the document itself, you're gonna realize that this is a 4010 version, right? So I've selected a 4010 version, a 240. Like if you see, there are like all kinds of EDI file formats, right? For different industries. What is the output or the target format? JSON or XML? I've selected JSON. Now, what you need to give as an input is you have to give like the browse the S3 bucket, where you have to point it to the document, right? The input document and the output document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse this S3 and then go to that specific test EDI branch bucket, and then EDI inbound. I'm going to select the EDI file that I've received. I'm going to select the destination file, similarly the JSON file, and then I'm going to click next. Now that's where the interesting concept comes. If you see over here, it is mentioned simplify your EDI migrations with the help of Amazon Bedrock's generative AI capabilities. So what internally this B2B data interchange is doing is basically using our Amazon Bedrock, which is a generative AI a service, right? And using the large language model behind that to do that, to create the mapping right on the runtime rather than you doing it manually. So what it has done is that like you have an option of like selecting generate mapping. Now automatically when you like have clicked the next and then came to this page, what it has done is that it has already, like if you see over here, view translations of your input sample and apply a mapping to produce custom formatted output documents, right? So here is the JSON translation of the X12 input sample. So what it does is that it basically converts internally the EDI document into a JSON kind of file format, right? That's how B2B interchange works. And then it's gonna, if you see the custom transfer sample X12 input file using mapping, right? And then at the bottom, is a sample JSON output file provided in step one, right? Now, but the mapping section is something, okay, which is right now empty. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create select generate mapping. And then it says an interesting thing, access denied when invoking Bedrock's invoke model API. Visit the usage guide to set up your AWS credentials and model access permissions, right? Now, what it has to do is like before you even start using this generative AI for the first time, you have to do it one time, is basically you have to allow the model access so that the B2B data interchange is able to access the Bedrock related large language models behind the scenes to be able to. So, by default, not all models are enabled in your AWS account. It's just a 1 minute task. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Bedrock and then I'm going to go to Bedrock console, and then here I'm running in North Virginia, and then this is North Virginia, and then here you have the option of model access. Let's enable all models, right? There are few that are available to request, like this is by default. So what I'm going to do is like you just select enable models, select all, click next, and then just submit it. Within few seconds it should get auto approved, and your other services should be able to access. If you see access granted, right, all the model access granted. Now if you go back to your transformer section and let's try to rerun this again, right? It should work now. Regenerate mapping. Now it still says access denied when invoking Bedrock's invoke model API. Visit the usage guide, set up your AWS credentials and model access permissions. So let's go back to our documentation. And if you see our model access, enable all anthropic models, B2B data engine uses Claude 3.5 Sonnet and Claude 3 Sonnet. And then, okay, so let's see. This is what we are doing. We are creating generic mapping, and then typically you should see this mapping. So let's go to inbound EDI section. It says there are two ways you can invoke a transformer to convert inbound EDI X12 documents to XML, just invoke start API, or it says, so what you have to do is, okay, I get it. So I've skipped one step, is that the profile creation, right? I just directly went to transfer for the demo purpose, right? But let's see one quick thing. Invoke API. Transformer. Okay, so let's go back to Bedrock and let's see base models. But the idea is ideally it should run, okay, but looks like I have to do some more settings, okay, to allow the B2B data interface to be able to use the invoke API for this Claude Sonnet. And let's see, access granted. So let's try again. Let's try one more time, right? But you get the point, right? Like what I'm trying to say. So let's do test Gen AI 4010. Okay, let's do it. EDI, let's select and then browse S3, test EDI, JSON, choose next. and then click generate mapping. Yep, I'm getting still the same error. So let's try to use Amazon Q, which is our generative AI assistant, right? So let's ask the question. Access denied when invoking Bedrock's invoke modality model access permission. So let's see what it is giving as a response to as a solution. It appears you incarnate. Okay, let's see. Oh, see, so I need to go and do some more permissions. So ensure your IAM user role has the necessary permissions to a Bedrock, environmental Bedrock actions allowed in your IAM policy, right? Check model access, review the ensure the necessary config up to date using temporary. Okay, same role examine. Okay, visit the model ARN, update the IAM policy to include necessary has a basic of what your policy looks like. Okay, so I need to, looks like I don't have access right now based on the account and the IAM user that I'm using. So what I'm gonna do is, let me see if I can go to IAM and then, so I can create a user and use that, or I go to dashboard. Yeah, so I need to, yeah, so I have certain trouble. But ideally, okay, let's go back. Okay, and let's try to continue, like rather than like doing end to end. Okay, I'm trying to show you like exactly what it is going to give you. So if you see over here, when I'm gonna click the generative, like after fixing that I am like permission issue, uh, if you click on the generative AI mapping, it's going to create this mapping automatically, right? And after the mapping has been generated, you can see the difference and accuracy details, okay, which displays. If you see over here, let me go back here. Okay, you will have an option of like the details of like what it prompted and what is the difference of the generative AI mapping, and see like the mapping accuracy score, and then the mapping evaluation, right? And then based on the accuracy score, okay, you can make modifications, right? But ideally, okay, it is like if you see over here like the difference in accuracy details, where you can see like, okay, 194 out of 196 lines match. So whatever that generative AI mapping created, okay, the evaluation says that yeah, it has almost like did 194 out of 196. Maybe the couple of them is where you have to review and then like manually like create those modifications or the mappings, right? So like think about the time it used to take, like if you had to do all that mapping like from the EDI to JSON, how long it used to take, and now how long it's going to take if you're using this generative AI powered EDI mapping assistant, right? So that's kind of the interesting topic that I found, and I just impromptu like thought, okay, maybe stepping back and taking a detour to show you this interesting topic, okay, might be really an eye opener for all of you. But yeah, with that, I'm going to conclude today's session. I'm going to give all these links to you in the description box of this video so that you can go and do further research and learning. And please feel free to like ask me or any question that you have in the comment section. And those who are new to the channel, again, I would like to request you to like, share, subscribe. That motivates me to create more such videos, and I understand that these are something that is really helping you in your day-to-day job. And also hit the bell icon for getting notified. With that, you all have a very nice weekend, and I'll see you next week.